Hi, Tracy Lewis from Stuff and Things. I'm going to do a tutorial today on what I've learned about using Graceful glass, which is a DSP that is on vellum, and it simulates stained glass. So before I do that, I don't know how much people have seen of my coloring projects. Most of all of my stuff is either at my mom's or was lost in our accident. So I've since then colored some projects with my new Copics, of which I have a much smaller collection. So this is the type of coloring that I do. I like fantasy theme coloring books, and so I really get involved in my coloring. I do samples. This is probably my most elaborate one, and I actually took regular paper, just copy paper, and I actually pre-did most of this before I even put it on the Copic coloring cardstock that I use to do my coloring. So this is from the perspective that you're going to see when I talk about my different things I've learned about coloring the vellum with blends. So enough of that. I do own all of the blends. I'm very excited for the new colors that are coming out. I'm waiting anxiously for them. So I got the Graceful Glass DSP set. I picked one of the sheets. This is the sheet that I picked, and I colored just in a way that I thought would work. I had no problems with the smaller elements, but the background chunks of space, I had a very hard time with streaking, and I will show you what I mean by that. This is the first one that I colored, and I used the Night of Navy light. I didn't even get to using the dark. The smaller areas came out fine, but every time I overlapped the brush, I use the brush end typically. I don't use the bullet end unless I'm doing something very fine and delicate. So this first one I colored, and I got the streaking, and I was not satisfied with that. So I changed the color to a little bit lighter color on the second one that I colored, which the Tiger Lilies was the second one that I colored, and it is actually finished, but I want to show you what it came out like. I still got some streaking up here with the dark smoky slate. This is the light and the dark. I was looking for a color on color match, so I used basic gray as the matte behind it because the color kind of shows through with the vellum. And then I did a silver foil edge around that helped. And then I got the idea, my husband said it wasn't bright enough, so I put Wink of Stella on the flowers, and boy, I'm very happy with how these flowers turned out. If you can see past the Wink of Stella, I did use a technique. I like to use texture, so after I colored and did darker in the middle with the edges being lighter, I then took the bullet nib end and did the dots, because Tiger Lilies actually have a lot of dotting on them. So I did that and was also very pleased with how that came out. I struggled with the layout because of the vertical nature of the stained glass element. I had a hard time coming up with this little, you know, what to do with the sentiment. Oops, can you guys see that? I think I was up too far. So then the sentiment element here was a challenge for me to get finished off. But in the end, I'm very happy with how this one turned out, but I really wanted to work on getting more depth in the flowers, as well as trying to eliminate as much as possible any streaking in the background. And then I also wanted to try to get more of the brightness you get from the stained glass when there's light coming from the outside. So I then worked on the roses. I ended up using, I wanted red roses, so this is the light and dark cherry cobbler. but because I wanted to go lighter, I had to, on some of the flowers, I used the light and dark pink pirouette. This is actually technically not a current color, so sadly, once I get the new blends in, these will have to go in my retired file. But for the moment, they're still in with the ones that I have because I don't have very many. So on the roses that I'm going to show you in a second, I did all 4 of these colors to try to go for that depth. And then I used, for the background, I also used for 3 colors. Nope, I think I used just light and dark Bermuda Bay. So this is what the next one you're going to see, and it is finished as well. And here is how it came out, and I think it came out very, very nice. The way that I achieved the sunlight level of brightness was actually putting the foil behind the vellum, and that really brightened it up. And the roses, I went back in and added the dark cherry cobbler deep in the flowers to get that depth and really work on getting a true depth of color. And again, I did use Wink of Stella, which on this particular color, the Wink of Stella isn't as vibrant, I think because the background is so light. And then these are the new glitter dots, which they go perfect. And this, even though I used Cherry Cobbler and Pink Pirouette, the best color match I found actually was Lovely Lipstick. And I believe that's what these pink glitter dots are all about. And of course, this card I made a totally different, less formal, a much less formal looking card. So these are the 2 that I've finished, and each one I think is getting a little bit better and a little bit better as I fine-tune my technique. So now over on the left, the look of the background is a little bit more kind of a wash looking rather than streaky looking, and the reason why is that I took the bullet end and I did circles. One of the techniques that you learn in the Copic classes, which I've taken them over the years, is you work in circles to get a more even coverage. When you're working on the vellum, it's not going to be a really smooth coverage because the alcohol ink is drying on the paper that does not soak in. So you have only so much time to work with, and you don't get a really smooth layer look. But I do like how this is actually done with light and dark. I alternated light, dark, light, dark, dark, light. So I'm not sure if you can see exactly the lights and darks, but in real life here I can see which ones are different. So I'm going to show you, actually what I'm going to do is I had left on the iris that I wasn't happy with. I am suspicious that you can't really get a smooth coverage with the light Night of Navy, but I am going to try on this video to color this one section using the bullet circle technique and see if I can actually get a result that I am happy with. So I'll even zoom in a little bit so you can see more closely what I'm doing. No idea how this will work. Again, because it dries so fast, you only have so much time. You can see the ink moving around on the vellum. I had my husband pick out colors for this particular panel, and I am going to try a yellow background, which is Daffodil Delight, and then I am going to use the Calypso Coral for the flowers. The leaves are going to be Old Olive. I'm going to start with the background and see if I can have you watch, so I'm going to leave it zoomed in and hopefully I won't pull it too close to me so you can see what's going on. And I will be alternating the Daffodil Delight for each of the stained glass sections with light alternating with dark. Oopsie, you couldn't see that. The light I find is way more forgiving. So that's what the light looks like, and it's still wet. I'm going to shift. I'm seeing a pattern that I might want to do light on this side and dark on this side. So I will do one chunk in the dark and then decide if I want to continue that. Alright, that is the dark, and I see along the edge here I can do a little. See, because it's lighter, you get more forgiveness, but you can see the difference between the light and the dark. So I do think I'm going to actually go back and forth, crisscross, not make it so regular. Alright, I've completed the background. I'm happy with that. I'm going to move on to the flowers and see how the light... Now, I don't know what these flowers are, by the way. You know, I knew what the tiger lilies were and the roses and the irises, but these elude me, so I'm not really sure what I'm dealing with. So as far as textures go, I don't really know if, you know, there's a lot of ruffles. These look like a smooth flower, so I'm sticking with a smooth light base, and then I'm going to go back in and play with what I think would look nice to do the texture. And I'm doing what's called feathering. And then I'm going to do a little blending. Is pre-cut some materials to play with. I wasn't sure. I have the yellow and the wavy, and I have the green leaves as the big background. So then I still have what kind of foil. I'm thinking gold, so I already pre-cut gold. I want to see if with this yellow. Okay, I am back, ready to investigate my colors. I came up with 3 possible mats. Calypso Coral in the middle, Grapefruit Grove, which is new, and Mango Melody. Mango Melody to me is very close to the background, and Calypso Coral and Grapefruit Grove are the light and the dark of the flower. So I've got the gold. I'm just curious. I used silver on the other two. I think that that is very interesting. It isn't achieving what I'm hoping for, which is the appearance of sunlight from behind, so I think I'm going to stick with the gold. And I think I'm going to use the leaves. Let's back it out a little bit here from where it was so you can see more of the card. And I haven't decided if I'm going to trim off the top and bottom. I might just have, on this one to be different, just side border. I don't think I like that. It is not the right tone for the yellow or the flower color. So that's a no. That is a definite possibility. I see this color combination all over the place, so that's a good one. And then, just because I like this Grapefruit Grove a lot, I think it's a little too bright. I'm going to go with the Calypso Coral. So I'm also going to do full length, so I'm only going to do side strips. If I don't like the side strips, I still have the opportunity to trim down more. I will show you once again. I did the mat on this one, all 4 sides, but it went to the end, so it's basically a 5.5 inch long, and this is 1 3/4 wide. I think it was like a hair under 3/4. This one, I actually left a little bit of an edge all the way around, and I trimmed off. There is no border. So this one has the border, and the green one has no border. So I'm going to go away, oops, and then the Silver Celebrate is extra, and I'm not going to use it. And I will come back with the pieces cut and further contemplate finishing card number 3. I'll be back. Alright, I'm back, and I have a couple of things to share as I work through making this card. First, I want to show you how bad a project looks with the wrong foil behind it. So this looks beautiful, very sunny, yellow tinted, perfect, excellent. Now I'm going to show you, even though this one isn't quite good enough for me to use, and I might still work on the background and try to get it to a level of being used. But here's what it looks like with the silver foil behind it. I was curious what these cold colors, as I call them, would look like with gold foil behind them. And it pretty much looks awful. So that's how important it is when you're experimenting with different options. How bad certain color combinations can be. This just looks totally unacceptable to me, and beautiful with the silver. So that's just a little aside that I tried. So we'll put that over here because we're not going to work on that. Now, the next thing is, what do I do knowing that when I do any adhesive, the adhesive is going to show? However, when you look at these 2 finished cards, you don't see where my adhesive is at all. It's just not, doesn't even show through. So, here is what I did. I placed the small dots behind each flower. And in my case, I will put a dot behind the darkest part of the flower, and I could either stick them this way, which is fine, or my preferred method to make sure I don't get a dot in the wrong place is to pick it up with an X-Acto, flip it over, and place on the darkest part. That's where it will show the least. So that's my tip for actually adhering these, and I didn't worry about adhering it around the edges at all. It's just not, to me, it just isn't going to work that way. So it will only be adhered by the dots in the darkest part of the flowers. So this one will have 4 dots. The iris would be a challenge because it's only got 2 irises. I would have to explore other possibilities. So here's the adhesive applied, and on the front you just don't even see it, where if you had applied the adhesive here in these light solid spaces, you would see the adhesive. Alright, I hope you saw that. So here's the adhesives on the back. I might have drawn myself too close, so we'll see. So 4 adhesives beneath the flowers that when you turn the flowers over you don't see the adhesives, and I'm going to apply. I think I might still be zoomed up here. There, so now we're totally not zoomed. Alright, so the gold is applied behind. I plan to, I did do the little squares in Calypso Coral. Now I will apply the matte, which will then go on the leaves. And I have to go away and contemplate what style of sentiment I will use on this card. Alright, while I was sitting here contemplating a sentiment for the Calypso Coral panel, I got to thinking about the colorless blender. This is the colorless blender. It's actually called a color lifter, and that it's a color lifter and a color pusher is how I think of it. In the case of the Vellum, the ink dries on the surface, so what I did is I took a paper towel. I'm looking for an even looking blue background. I can't have streaks like that was up here and then circles down here. So I went through and I removed the streaks, and this is the modeled look. I used the small side. My theory is there should be a way, if you're coloring these and you're not doing as good a job as you would like to be doing, there should be ways to work with the ink. Because the ink is sitting on the surface, you have opportunities to work it up and take it off. I don't know how well a reapplying in circles will go, but I think I'm going to try removing the ink in all of the blue sections. So that is wonderful, and I'm glad I thought of it. So now I've got this yellow. I have the silver foil. And I just want to show you how beautiful this is. So what was my reject is now turned into something perfectly usable, very nice. I will have to play with first whether I want to use the yellow. I might do my edging in a middle blue here. Maybe blueberry bushel would be kind of fun. And that means I will have completed like a set of 4 of these. All 4 panels will actually be used, and that is wonderful. All right, back to contemplating sentiments, and I probably will work on the layout and the matting on the iris. All right, I'm back. I have the last 2 cards done. I'm going to show you the yellow one first. Here is what I ended up doing. It says Hello Sunshine, and I used the faceted gems. This is actually Grapefruit Grove, but it matches very nicely. And I thought the doily was a nice touch. I used it in the first card as well, a quarter round. So this is a half round. The card is all finished, and I think it turned out very nice. I tried doing the sunshine similar to the first card, or the second card that had Celebrate up the side, but when it was up the side, my husband and I both of us could not read sunshine clearly, so I had to put sunshine horizontally. Sunshine is popped up, it's a double layer, and I had put the dimensionals on the strip that's the stained glass only, so it's popped up with the Calypso Coral attached to the base. Alright, so that's that one. And then the last one was really interesting. So here is what happened when I went ahead and I used the color lifter, which literally lifted the color up, and I soaked it up with the paper towel, and it ended up leaving a very nice pattern. And of all things, both my husband and I agree that what originally was a reject actually is the favorite for both of us. I used the glitter dots for this year, as well as more of the faceted gemstones. A quarter doily. This happy birthday is from Beautiful Bouquet. So was the hello, was from the Beautiful Bouquet. In fact, it's my only hello, and it's really teeny. This is a ribbon that actually carried over from last year that I just had a snippet of floating around and thought it would be a nice match. And I think this one came out great. So now I'm going to lay out all 4 of them. I had a lot of fun working with the stained glass. I guess it's called Graceful glass, but it simulates the stained glass. You'll notice that I didn't use the stamps from it because I bought just the DSP to see what I thought. I'm a alcohol marker colorer, and so I always like to see how far I can stretch my coloring, and this was an opportunity to do something new with the blends, new and different, and I really like it, and I think that they turn out absolutely beautiful. Hopefully you find this helpful, and will give you some ideas for using the Graceful Glass DSP in your own projects. Thanks for watching.